Hey and welcome to our tutorial. This time we will try to draw this superellipse shape, which is just a fancy name for a shape which is something in between the circle and the rectangle or square. And it's more like a rounded rectangle, but the corners are drawn in a more natural way. And there's actually a formula how to draw this shape, but we will not use any of those today. We'll just try to somehow distort or squeeze a standard circle inside Microsoft Word to get to this result. So let's get started with the blank document, and I will start to explain what we will actually do. So I will insert a new shape being an oval. Then I will right click and select edit points, and then you can see that the circle is made from 4 different points, and each point has 2 anchor points, and those anchor points sets how this curve should be drawn. So by dragging those anchor points around while holding the shift key, so I can move both at the same time, I can try to resize those anchor points to not go outside of the boundaries of the shape, but to go almost touching the boundaries. And if I do it for all 4 different points, like this, I'm trying to be precise, but it's a little bit harder. And this last one. So if I do it like this, I should get a nice looking shape, which is exactly like something in between the ellipse and the rectangle, or circle and the rectangle. Nice looking rounded corners, for which it's hard to tell where the roundness really ends, just because this part up here is still being a little bit round. We cannot access those anchor points straight from the Visual Basic for application, straight from macro. So what we have to do instead is we have to draw this circle shape using the add curve function. And I will probably delete this one and just insert this shape again, just so we can we'll start with the plain ellipse anyway. So if I set the fill to no fill, we can talk about those individual points. So I will select the draw, and let's draw those points. So we have one point being here, another point being here, third point is here, and last point is here. And for each point, we have those control vertices or anchor points. So we have 2 anchor points for each point. Sorry for my drawing skills. It's a little bit harder today. Don't know why. Okay, so we have 4 different points and 8 different anchor points. And we will start drawing the curve from the first point. We will not start with first point with 2 different anchor points, but we will start with the first point. So we will start with this one, and we can go clockwise. So we will start with first point, then we will define the first anchor point. This will be a second item in our array. Then we will define the third anchor point, fourth, this will be point, then next anchor point, and we will go like this around the circle. So 6, 7, 8, those are the indices of the items in the array. So this is 8, this is 9, 10, and this is 11. Then we have this anchor point, which is 12, but we don't end here just because we need a point for this anchor point, and the last point is point number 13, and that should be the same as the first point. So if those 2 points are the same, the first and the 13th point, if they are the same, we will get a closed shape, which is exactly what we are looking for. So let's try to keep this in mind and start with drawing actually anything. So I will open the developer ribbon. If you don't see, just right click and select customize the ribbon and make sure that the developer checkbox is being checked. Then I will open the macros, and for this document I will add a new macro, which I will call draw circle maybe, and create a new macro. Now we need to draw something, and the drawing something will be done with a function called add curve. And actually for this Microsoft website there is an example down here which is helpful. Seems like we need some kind of array for which we will set individual points, and we will call this add curve method to draw the points stored in this array. So what I will probably do is I will probably copy this part with the array in our Visual Basic code. I may rename this to something different, maybe circle points. And then we need to draw it with the function called, what is it called? Add curve. So let's say active document dot shape shapes.add curve, and we will specify the circle points. We don't need to specify the anchor point. I will say select. Now if I run this macro, it will not do anything just because we haven't initialized those points. So let's raise the number of points to some big value, and let's create a quick loop to test if everything works as expected. So I will select, say, for counter going from 0 to 1 to 100. I want to set a random point, so I will say circle points. The first one is index of the points, which is the counter. The second one is 1 for x and 2 for y, so this will be random, for example, times 100. And I will use the same random value for y as well. Then I will say next counter, offset this and try to run it. And what I should get will be a crazy shape where I'm not only setting the control points but the anchor points as well. So as you can see, if I resize it so I can see better, this kind of abstract art, or how we can call it, if I right click and select edit points, you can see that those are the control points. And if I select any of those, the anchor points are also placed on the random positions, so you can see that some of those parts of those curves are rounded. And we will use the very same or similar way how to draw an actual ellipse. Of course, if you are looking just for a random abstract art shape, you can end here. But let's try to actually draw the curve. So let's draw the circle. I will move everything a little bit down and open the macro code. I will comment this because I don't need it anymore. I will maybe delete it. Maybe just comment. I don't like deletion. And I will change the number of points to be 13, just because we've shown that we only need 13 points. We also need few more variables. We need the circle x position as double. We also need a circle y position as double. We also need the size of the circle, so let's say circle size as double, which will be twice the radius, and then we need the offset of those anchor points. So let's call it circle offset or anchor offset as double as well. Let's set those values. So the x position could be, for example, I don't know, 100. We can set the y position to be 100 as well. Let's say the size to 100 for now as well, and let's say the anchor offset to be some smaller value, maybe 20 or so. So let's start by setting the first point x and y. So let's copy it down here, and let's set the first point. So first point x and first point epsilon. So the first point x will be the x position. X position is around here, plus the size of the circle divided by 2. So that's the x position plus the circle size divided by 2. And the y position is just the y position of the circle, just because it's all the way on the top. We don't need to add anything. Before trying to draw something, let's move to next point. And the next point would be the anchor point for the first point. This is number 2. It's here. It's very similar to the first point. I'll just change the index to 2, but we have to add something, and the something is actually the circle anchor offset. So we'll add the circle anchor offset, which is this distance between the anchor point and the control point. So this is the circle anchor offset value, which is for now 20. We will for sure change it later. So we have the first point and we have the first anchor point. I can still try to draw this. Let's see what happens. And what happens is we have this strange shape, because everything else is not set. It's 0 to 0, but the first point should be set. If I select edit points, I should see the first point, which is in here, and the first anchor point, which is this unfilled rectangle 20 points from the first point. So it looks, everything looks fine. I will delete it and continue with the second point. Let's add few comments. Let's add this is the second point. I will copy one part at least, and I will change the index to 3. And the 3 is actually not the point itself. The 3 is the anchor point, 4 is the point, and 5 is the anchor point. Anyway, I will change the x position because it will be same for all the points, and that's actually circle x pos plus circle size. And the y position will be plus circle size divided by 2. It's in the middle. And then we will add or subtract the circle anchor offset. So I will copy this few times, actually 2 times. This is index number 4. And this is index number 5. So the first of those 3 points is the anchor point, so we need to subtract the anchor offset. For the second one, we don't need to do anything because it's in the middle of the circle. And the last one, it's number 5. We have to add the circle anchor offset. So let's add the circle anchor offset. I'll try to run it again, and we should get a little bit more or better looking shape, more resembled to the circle itself. If I select edit points, first point is clear. For the second point, I can see the control point is in the middle, and we have 2 anchor points in the right positions, which is great. So again, I can delete this one and continue with the third point. So this is second point, this is third point. Again, I will use one of those parts for the third point. This is index number 6. And let's see what's same. The same is y position, which will be same for all those points, and the y position is circle y pos plus circle size. We will not divide it by anything because it's the size of this is the size of the circle. The x will be different. It will be circle plus circle x plus circle size divided by 2, and again we will add or subtract the circle anchor offset. So I will copy this 2 more times. 6, 7, and 8. And let's see, for the 6, we need to add the anchor offset. So I will add the anchor offset for 6. For 7, we don't need to do anything. It's in the middle. And for the 8, we need to subtract the circle anchor offset. Just a quick test. And we have 3 nice points. So we are still missing a few of them. Let's create this 9, 10, and 11, which is 4th point. And for this one, I will probably reuse some code of those 3, 4, and 5. So I will copy 3, 4, and 5, and just change the first index to be 9, 10, and 11. And the only difference here is that the 9, 10, and 11 should have the x position of being the x pos of the circle. So for the x position, I will not add the circle size. I will just keep it as the x position of the circle. And for the y position, the 9th should have the position half of the circle plus the anchor offset. So I will change this to plus instead. And the 11th should have the middle of the circle minus the anchor offset. So I will change this to minus anchor offset. I will run this again, and I have 3. If I right click select edit points, I have 3 points or 4 points actually, which are right. So the only part I'm missing is this last anchor point and the last edit point or control point, which is in the same position as the first point. So let's say that the last point, and for the last point we will reuse a code used for the first 2 points. So I will copy this part. In here, I will actually switch the position and change the indices to be 12 and I'm missing a comma and 13. And the 13 is actually the same, so I don't need to do anything with this one. It's the same as the first. This is the same as the first position. So the only change I need to do is this number 12. And number 12 is the anchor point for the first point. So it's in the middle for x minus the anchor offset. So it's in the middle minus the anchor offset. If I try to write it, hopefully I will get a filled circle, which is what I'm getting. It's actually not a circle because the anchor offset, that is the distance between the anchor points from the control point, is in the wrong position, to say it this way. We are not really interested in getting the circle, but I believe we can, of course, calculate this value. It may be around 28, I'm not quite sure, but this kind of looks like a circle. Maybe we don't need those drawings anymore, so I will delete everything. And let's try to play with the anchor offset value. So the x size of the circle is 100, so the maximum offset which we are going to use is 50. If I use 50, we will get the anchor points stretched as much as we can to the borders of the actual shape. So we are getting this kind of super ellipse shape. Of course, we are not tied to just this value. We can use, of course, bigger values as well. Then we will get like this pillow shape. I don't know how to call it. Or we can do it the other way around. We use a very small values, like maybe 10, and then we should get this kind of diamond shape. And that's basically it for today's tutorial. Now it's up to you to do whatever you want with those shapes. This is what the super ellipse is, at least something similar to super ellipse. So thanks for watching. That's it.